Hi, you're a YouTuber, right? I'm Jerry, and I do not appreciate the writers of Jaws ruining Jaws and making it wasted potential. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have to talk about this one. We just have to do it. We gotta do it. I don't know how to introduce this video. I honestly really don't. I have been thinking about this for a very, 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 very long time, guys. I am a big fan of the Jaws franchise. I really am, even though they are terrible. Like Jaws 1 is iconic, it's perfect, it's a great movie, but the Jaws franchise is abysmal. Jaws 2 through 4 are just, oh my God, like what happened? Now, okay, what I will say before we get too deep into this is Jaws 2 was actually good. Like, it was, out of all the others, it is pretty good. It's not a Shakespearean work of art, like it's none of that, not like the original, nothing crazy, but it's decent, okay? And then 3 is the biggest, what?
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
Actually, okay, wait. It's not that Jaws 3 is the biggest what I've ever seen. It's Jaws 4, Jaws the Revenge, that is the biggest what I've ever seen.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
Now, I gotta say, admittedly, when I was young, I actually really liked Jaws the Revenge. I don't know why. Honestly, it's probably because it was so goofy. But now, as I am a 26-year-old individual, looking back on my time as a 12-year-old enjoying this movie, I look at young me and I'm like, what was I thinking? I don't get it. The only thing I will say about it is it was entertaining. It's kind of one of those movies where it's like so bad it's good. I wouldn't say it's as on that spectrum as something like The Room is, but it's in that sort of category, you know what I mean? Like it's not a good movie. Like not at all. But it's all right. But the overall point of this video, I'm kind of going off on the deep end. The overall point of this video is Jaws as a franchise is the biggest wasted potential that I've ever seen ever. And I personally don't like the idea of turning Jaws into a franchise. That's certainly not what I'm going for. It's just they had so many opportunities, and Hollywood overall had so many opportunities to make this movie something truly, truly unique. I'm not going to waste any time in this video getting into the behind the scenes of the making of Jaws 2, Jaws 3, Jaws 4. If you want to see those type of videos, there are a million of them out there on YouTube, and they're really good. Some of them are like an hour long, and they go into like every little detail of behind the scenes of all of those. And some of it is very interesting. Like Roy Schneider, who played Chief Brody in the original, had beef, like big time beef with the director of Jaws 2, and it led to a literal fist fight. Like, that's the kind of stuff you could find out if you watch some of the actual like history of the making of those videos. We're not going to dive into that here, but I did think that was pretty interesting to admit. Pretty crazy to think that the main character got in a fist fight over creative differences, and that goes to show what could have been. Now, if any of you did follow the history at all of the making of the Jaws franchise, you would know that there were many iterations of Jaws 2. It wasn't just like this final one that we got. Actually, as a matter of fact, this went through so many revisions to get down to what it became. And the crazy thing is, the original pitch for Jaws 2 was set to be based off of Peter Benchley's actual novel that he made, which there are certainly parts to the Jaws 2 that we actually see on screen that have elements similar to the books, but in the actual Jaws 2 book, we got stories like a mafia tie with, you know, the mayor and all of that stuff, and I thought that would have been pretty cool to see on screen. I don't know. But the point I'm making here is it just goes to show how much Hollywood sucks. Now, obviously, I can't say that without acknowledging the fact that Hollywood made the cinema we love. But in instances like this, greedy Hollywood sucked. All they cared about was trying to get out the next Jaws, the next blockbuster, because Jaws created the term the blockbuster, so they wanted to make as much money as possible.
I like money.
And in doing so, they really, just really devoured what could have been an amazing franchise. And again, I'm going to say one more time for the people in the back, I don't really want Jaws to be a franchise. I don't want that. But that is the cards we're dealt. We are dealt with a franchise of Jaws movies. There's 4 of them. So with all of that in mind, this is not what I would have wanted to have seen. Now, there are probably a million people out there who would give you something they want to see and all of that stuff. I don't really have an idea of exactly what I want. All I'm just trying to say in this video is what we got is not what we should have. And while I can enjoy the Jaws movies for what they are, like, realistically speaking, there's worse stuff out there. Okay, to me, Jaws 3 is the worst of all of them. Even though, like, really from a plot perspective, Jaws 4 should be, I at least found Jaws 4 so bad it's good, and fucking Michael Caine was in it. So, like, how could I hate that? You know what I mean? Like, it was the worst in terms of what we got on paper and on screen. It was really bad. And, like, the shark roars and things like that. Like, it was definitely bad in that regard. But it was fun bad. Now, Jaws 3, I guess some people could say is fun bad because the 3D animation is just abysmal. But I'm sure when it came to actual 3D footage, which none of us have ever seen because we only really watched the 2D versions of Jaws 3D, I'm sure it was pretty fun. Even like the really bad shark who just goes through the glass. Like, I'm sure in actual 3D that was probably pretty badass to see. No joke. That being said, it's still like you could still go back and enjoy these movies, but they really do diminish the quality of the original. And that's a shame. And that's why I do not like oversaturation in the market of a franchise and things like that. Jaws is the prime example of, you know, something like that not working. Because you see, the crazy thing is Jaws, the original one, got everything right. By doing a lot of things wrong in production, it just magically worked. And I would argue that it's one of those movies that is genuinely magical. It kind of struck lightning in a bottle. Everything worked when it shouldn't have in a lot of ways from a technical perspective. And it just came together in such an amazing way. The suspense of not seeing the shark, even though the directors didn't want that, it played off so well. And then when we finally saw him, it was terrifying. And just the overall story just felt very grounded. We got a really good shot there. That dolly zoom. I mean, all I'm going to say about that is I feel like that's like the best dolly zoom that's ever been done. I don't know why I came to that conclusion. But the overall point of what I'm trying to say is you have really iconic elements to the story because of the additions of things like that, and a lot of it was a happy accident, and that's a great thing. And just the other movies in this franchise have just kind of like stained that. And I think there's just someone who could have came along, people like me who absolutely love Jaws and could have made something much better than what we got. Now, that being said, do I think we should continue and make like a Jaws 5, a Jaws 6? Absolutely not. I don't think we should do that. The only thing I do think we should do is eventually, it's going to happen. It's a matter of time. There's been plans of it for years and rumors of it for years. It will eventually happen. But I would like for them to make a Jaws remake. I know that sounds crazy to the people when I'm making a video called Jaws Wasted Potential. I do totally get that. But I think a Jaws remake could right the wrongs of the franchise overall and eventually lead to more stories in that universe. Not that I think we really should, but I feel like it's inevitably going to happen. So this is my ode to whoever makes it, because I swear to God, for years, me and my cousin used to sit in his backyard and think about how we were going to be the directors of the Jaws remake. And that would be fucking awesome. I'm not going to lie. I would love for that to be the case. Realistically speaking, probably not going to happen. That being said, to whoever it is out there, and I'm pointing at you, and I hate pointing. I'm not a pointer. But I'm pointing at you because, God damn it, you better not fuck this one up. I swear to God. Jaws as a remake could be really good. You could make a much more accurate adaptation than what we got, even in the original to the books. And I would say the original did a pretty good job adapting the books, which is awesome. But With a remake, you could do more of a true adaptation. The way I'm looking at it is, think about Charlie and the Chocolate Factory when it compares to Willy Wonka. Now, a lot of people claim that Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is a remake of Willy Wonka. It's actually not the case. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is a accurate adaptation of the original Charlie and the Chocolate Factory book, whereas Willy Wonka was, obviously it was iconic, just like Jaws, but it was not as accurate to the book. We could see the same exact sort of thing with Jaws, and I would love that. I really would, as long as it's done well. And I think in order to do it well, you need to do one thing. Bruce, the shark has to be mechanical. It cannot be CGI. Look at movies like The Meg, and look at literally every other shark movie that's came out since the Jaws franchise. They've all had CGI sharks that look awful, like just so bad. And like, that's the thing. CGI is good for certain things, but it's not good for something like a mechanical shark where you could get the mechanics to look really real. The movie was made in the 70s, the original Jaws, and that shark, to me, still looks so unbelievably real. It blows my mind every time I see it. And yes, now we have digital cameras, so the upscaling is pretty crazy. It's going to be more obvious when something like that looks like an animatronic, and I do totally get that, but because it's now 2023, animatronics have gotten so unbelievably good. Like, look at Jack Sparrow in the Pirates of the Caribbean in Disney. It looks like freaking Johnny Depp. That's what I'm saying. Like, you could make a really accurate animatronic and still fool a digital camera, or you could shoot the movie in film, which I personally think is better because I think film is the nicer looking of the two of them. That's just a personal preference. I get it. There's a million out there, but the overall point I'm trying to make is you can't do the shark in CGI, and if you're going to be the next director, whoever's watching this, you better not fucking make it a CGI shark. And as far as the adaptation is concerned, if anyone else were to remake Jaws, the last thing I have to say is that it should be a very faithful and very passionate project. That's all people care about. But what we've lost track with Hollywood lately, and what we're learning from the writer's strike, what we're learning just overall about Hollywood, is they are extremely greedy, and there's no passion in what's being made anymore. I really do genuinely think that's the case. I mean, you look at the world that we're in right now, it's a Star Wars spinoff, it's a Fast and Furious movie, it's the 8th Walking Dead spinoff. You know what I mean? Like, that's what we're getting in culture right now. We're not getting passionate projects. And yeah, I guess you could argue some of the directors and writers on projects like the new Star Wars is the new Fast and Furious is, yeah, they're probably passionate, sure, but it doesn't really show because of how tight of quotas these people have. Marvel is on the same exact track. Call of Duty as a game is in a very similar spot to this. The point I'm making is the market is so oversaturated with really cheap milking of these cows that we're seeing, which are big conglomerates. We need passion projects. And yeah, I guess creating Jaws as a remake is not technically like a passion project, sure, but it is something that could go a long way for us fans. Now again, ultimately, I think Jaws should really be left where it is, but the reality is eventually someone is going to remake it. I just hope they do it right. And as of right now, until they do, Jaws has been wasted potential as a franchise. Obviously, I'm not talking about the original, but I'm talking about the 4 movies, the 3 that followed it, really. So yeah, with that out of the way, I'd love to start a healthy conversation down there in the comments about your thoughts on the Jaws franchise. Do you love the sequel, the 3rd movie, and Jaws the Revenge? Do you hate them? How do you feel? Do you want a remake of Jaws? Let's start a healthy conversation down there in the comments. And with all that out of the way, thank you again so much for watching this video. And until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Peace out.
Bye. Have a beautiful time.